Book of JEHOVIH, wherein is revealed the three great worlds, Corpor, Atmospherea and Etherea. As in all other Bibles it is revealed that this world was created, so in this Bible it is revealed how the Creator created it. As other Bibles have proclaimed heavens for the spirits of the dead, behold, this Bible revealeth where these heavens are, and the manner and glory and work that the spirits of the dead enjoy, whereby the wisdom, power, love, and glory of the Almighty are magnified for the understanding of man. This here, guys, is the original Panic language. Alright, chapter 1. All was, all is, all ever shall be. The all spake, and motion was, and is, and ever shall be. And being positive was called he and him. The all motion was his speech. He said, I am. And he comprehended all things, the seen and the unseen. Nor is there aught in all the universe but what is part of him. He said, I am the soul of all, and the all that is seen is of my person and my body. By virtue of my presence all things are. By virtue of my presence is life. By virtue of my presence are the living brought forth into life. I am the quickener, the mover, the creator, the destroyer. I am first and last. Of two apparent entities am I, nevertheless I am but one. These entities are the unseen, which is potent, and the seen, which is of itself impotent, and called Corpor. With these two entities and likeness thereby of myself made I all the living. For as the life is the potent part, so is the corporeal part the impotent part. Chief over all that live on the earth I made man. Male and female made I them. And that man might distinguish me, I commanded him to give me a name. By virtue of my presence commanded I him. And man named me not after anything in heaven or on earth. In obedience to my will named he me. After the sounds the wind uttereth. And he said, JEHOVIH, which is now pronounced JEHOVIH, and is written thus. Chapter 2. JEHOVIH said, by virtue of my presence created I the seen and the unseen worlds, and I commanded man to name them. And man called the seen worlds Corpor, and the unseen world Is. And the inhabitants of Corpor man named Corporians, but the inhabitants of Is he called sometimes Essenes, and sometimes spirits, and sometimes angels. JEHOVIH said, I created the earth and fashioned it, and placed it in the firmament. And by my presence brought man forth a living being. A corporeal body gave I him, that he might learn corporeal things. And death I made that he might rise in the firmament, and inherit my Etherean worlds. To Is I gave dominion over Corpor. With Is I filled all place in the firmament. But Corpor I made into earths and moons and stars and suns. Beyond number made I them, and I caused them to float in the places I allotted to them. Is I divided into two parts, and I commanded man to name them. And he called one Etherea, and the other Atmospherea. These are the three kinds of worlds I created, but I gave different densities to Atmospherian worlds, and different densities to the Etherean worlds. For the substance of my Etherean worlds I created Eth, the most rarefied. Out of Eth made I them. And I made Eth the most subtle of all created things, and gave to it power and place, not only by itself, but also power to penetrate and exist within all things. even in the midst of the corporeal worlds. And to Eve gave I dominion over both Atmospherea and Corpor. In the all highest places created I the Etherean worlds, and I fashioned them of all shapes and sizes, similar to my corporeal worlds. But I made the Etherean worlds inhabitable both within and without, with entrances and exits, and arches and curves, thousands of miles high and wide, and overruled I them with all perfect mechanism. And in colors and movable chasms and mountains and endless change and brilliancy. To them I gave motions and orbits and courses of their own, independent made I them, and above all other worlds in potency and majesty. Neither created I one Etherean world like another in size or density or in component parts, but every one differing from another and with a glory matchless each in its own way. Atmospherean worlds I also created in the firmament, and I gave them places and orbits and courses for themselves. But atmospherean worlds I created shapeless and void of fixed form, for they are in the process of condensation or dissolution. Being each intermediate in condition betwixt my Etherean and my corporeal worlds, of 3 degrees of density created I them, and I commanded man to name them. And one he called Agi, and one Jie, and one Nebulae. But all of them are composed of the same substances, being like the earth but rarefied. Nor is there on earth or in it one thing, even iron or lead or gold or water or oil or stones, but the same things are in my atmospherean worlds. As I have given light to the earth, so have I given light to many of them. And all such have I commanded man to call comets, and even so named he them. And I also created Atmospherea around about my corporeal worlds, together made I them. Chapter 3. Thus spake Jehovah by the light of Cosmon, proclaimed he these things amongst the nations of the earth. Man looked upward in prayer, desiring to know the manner of all created things, both on earth and in heaven. And Jehovah answered him, saying, The whirlwind made I as a sign to man of the manner of my created worlds. As thou behold the power of the whirlwind gathering up the dust of the earth and driving it together, know that even so do I bring together the Agi and the Jie and the Nebulae and the firmament of heaven. By the power of the whirlwind created I the corporeal suns, moons, and stars. And I commanded man to name the whirlwinds in the Etherean firmament, and he called them vortices and wark. According to their shape called he them. By the power of rotation, swift driving forth in the extreme parts, condense I the atmospherean worlds that float in the firmament, and these become my corporeal worlds. In the midst of the vortices made I them, and by the power of the vortices I turn them on their axis, and carry them in the orbits I allotted to them. Wider than to the moons of a planet have I created the vortices, and they carry the moons also. Around about some of my corporeal worlds have I given nebulous belts and rings, that man might comprehend the rotation of my vortexian worlds. For each and every corporeal world created I a vortex first, and by its rotation and by the places in the firmament where it traveled, caused I the vortex to conceive the corporeal world. A great vortex created I for the sun, and within this vortex, and subject to it, made I the vortices of many of the corporeal worlds. The sun vortex I caused to rotate, and I gave it the power to carry other vortices within it. According to their density and position are they thus carried forth and around about the sun. Think not, O man, that I created a sky, a barren waste and void of use. Even as man in the corporeal form is adapted to the corporeal earth, so is he in the spiritual form adapted to my Etherean worlds. 3 great estates have I bestowed on man, the corporeal, the atmospherian, and the Etherean. Chapter 4. Man perceived the general formation of the world, and he prayed that his eyes might be opened for a sign in heaven. And Jehovah answered him, saying, The clouds in the air I bring into view suddenly. By different currents of wind make I thus the unseen visible, intangible to man's senses. In like manner do I cause Etherean currents to bring forth Agiagia and nebulae, prior to making corporeal worlds. In all the universe have I made the unseen to rule over the seen. Let the formation of the clouds stand in the view of man on earth, that he may bear witness to the manner of the unseen becoming seen. Man perceived, and he prayed for a sign of duration, and Jehovah answered him, saying, Behold, the tree which hath sprung up out of the ground and fulfilled its time. It falleth and rotteth and returneth to the earth. Below, the wind which thou seest not never ceases to blow. Even so is the comparative duration of all things. Think not, O man, that corporeal things are annihilated because they disappear. For as a drop of water evaporateth and riseth in the air as unseen vapor, so do all corporeal things, even earth and stones and gold and silver and lead, become as nothing in the firmament of heaven in course of time. Things that man see created I with a beginning and an end, but the unseen I made of endless duration. The corporeal man made I belonging to the seen, but the spiritual man made I as one within the unseen and everlasting. As the corporeal man behold corporeal things, so does the spiritual man follow upward the evaporated corporeal entities of things. As corporeal things are tangible to corporeans, so are east things tangible to the spirits of the dead. As I cause water to rise upward as vapor and take a place in the air above, let it be a sign and a testimony of other places in Atmospherea, whereon dwell the spirits of the lower heaven. As I made a limit to the ascent of the clouds, so may I a limit to the places of the different kinds of substances in Atmospherea, the more subtle and potent to the extreme, and the more dense and impotent near to the earth. According to the condition of these different plateaus in Atmospherea, whether they be near the earth or high above, so shall the spirit of man take its place in the first heaven. According to his diet and desires and behavior, so shall he dwell in spirit on the plateau to which he hath adapted himself during his earth life. For I made the power of attraction manifest in all things before man's eyes, that he might not err. That like should attract like made I them. Man sought to know the progress of things. Jehovah answered him, saying, Open thy eyes, O man. There is a time of childhood, a time of genesis, a time of old age, and a time of death to all men. Even so is it with all the corporeal worlds have I created. First as vapor the vortex carry it forth, and as it condense, its friction engendereth heat, and is molten, becoming as a globe of fire in heaven. Then it taketh its place as a newborn world, and I set it in the orbit prepared for it. In the next age I bring it into Simu, for it is ripe for the bringing forth of living creatures, and I bestow the vegetable and animal kingdoms. Next it entered Hotu, for it is past the age of begetting, even as the living who are in dotage. Next it entereth Adu, and nothing can generate upon it. Then cometh Uz, and it is spirited away into unseen realms. Thus create I, and thus dissipate planets, suns, moons, and stars. My examples are all before all men. My witnesses are without number. I rise the tree up out of the ground. I give it a time to bring forth fruit, and then barrenness, and then death and dissolution. I prepare the new field with rich soil, bringing forth, and the old field that is exhausted, and man shall weigh the progress and destiny of a whole world. Let no man marvel because of the size of the mammoth and the ichthyosaurus, for there was a time for them as there is a time for the infusora of this day. I have given thee a sign, O man, and the queen of the honeybee. Because of the change of the cell cometh she forth a queen, even from the same manner of germ as the other bees. Be wise, therefore, and remember that the earth is not in the place of the firmament as of old. Let this be a testimony to thee of growth, the change, and the travail of the earth. Nevertheless, O man, the seen and the unseen are but parts of my person. I am the unity of the whole. Chapter 5. Man perceived the magnitude and glory of the corporeal worlds. He said, How shall I speak of thy great works, O Jehovah, and of thy wisdom and power? Shall I open my mouth before thee? I look upon thy countless stars, suns, and moons spread out over the heavens. The millions of years thou hast rolled them on in the never-ending firmament. Processions in and out and round about of mighty worlds, by thy breath going forth. O thou all-highest, how shall I hide my insignificance? I cannot create the smallest thing alive, nay, change the color of a hair on my head. What am I that thou hast seen me? Tell me, O my Creator, whence came life, this unseen within me that is conscious of being. Tell me how all the living came into life. Jehovah heard the words of man, and he was answered him, saying, Let a sign be given to man, that he may comprehend Simu. Thereupon Jehovah caused the jellyfish and the green scum of water to be permanently coming forth in all ages, that man might understand the age of Simu when the earth and the shores by the water, and the waters also were covered over with a commingled atmosphere and corporeal substance. And this substance was called Simu, because by Jehovah's presence quickened he it into life, and thus made he all the living, both the vegetable and the animal worlds. Not that Simu is jellyfish or the green scum of water, for the earth in this day produces not Simu abundantly. Nevertheless, the jellyfish and the green scum of water are signs of that which was in the day of the earth. Jehovah said, Because of my presence quickened I into life all that live or have ever lived. Because I am male and female, even in my likeness, thus made I them. Because I am the power to quicken into life, so in the likeness of me, thus made I them, and with power to bring forth. According to their respective places created I the living, not in pairs only, but in hundreds of pairs, and thousands and millions. According to their respective places in the light upon Simu, so quickened I them, and their color adapted to their dwelling places. Each and every living thing created I new upon the earth, of a kind each to itself, and not one living thing created I out of another. Let a sign be upon the earth, that man in his darkness may not believe that one animal changeth and becometh another. Thereupon Jehovah gave permission for different animals to bring forth a new living animal, which should be unlike either its mother or father, but he caused the new product to be barren. Jehovah said, And this shall be a testimony before all men, that I created each and all the living, after their own kind only. Such is my person and my spirit, being from everlasting to everlasting. And when I bring a new world into the time of Simu, lo and behold, my presence quickened the substance into life, according to the locality and the surroundings. So do I bring forth the different species, for they are flesh of my flesh, and spirit of my spirit. To themselves give I themselves, nevertheless they are all members of my person. As a testimony to man, behold, the earth was once a globe of liquid fire, nor was there any seed thereon. But in due season I rained down Simu on the earth, and by virtue of my presence quickened I into life all the living. Without seed created I the life that is in them. Jehovah said, Behold, I caused all the living creatures to gestate in darkness. And this shall be a testimony to the end of the world, that when I created life on the face of the earth, she traveled in my Samoan firmament. Chapter 6. When man comprehended the earth, he looked upward. And Jehovah saw and knew the desires of his soul. So Jehovah sent his son Uz, and Uz spake, saying, Hear me, O man. The mysteries of heaven and earth will I clear up before thy judgment. Thou art the highest, and comest to the chiefest of all kingdoms. From great Jehovah shalt thou learn wisdom, and none shall gainsay thee. Bethink thee, O man, of the magnitude of thy father's kingdoms, and his places in the firmament. Save I take thee up to the heaven, thou cannot comprehend the places thereof. Man then rose up in spirit and ascended into the firmament, for his spirit had crystallized into separateness. And Uz and Is ascended with him, speaking in the voice of the Father. And man beheld that each and everything in the firmament was orderly, and still each to itself located. Then spake Is, saying, Behold, O man, as a farmer soweth corn in one place, and wheat in another, and roots in another, and flax, everything in a separate place, even so Jehovah stored the ingredients of which worlds are made, everything in its place. The substance of the iron in one place, the substance of the stones in another, the substance of the vegetable kingdom in another, and even so of the substance of the animal kingdom, and the oils and sand, for he hath places in the firmament of heaven for all of them. These that saw us are the Agi and the Jie and the nebulae, and amidst them in places there is Simu also. Let no man say, Yonder is hydrogen only, and yonder oxygen only. The divisions of the substances of his creations are not as man would make them. All the elements are to be found not only in places near at hand, but in distant places also. When the Father driveth forth his worlds into the heavens, they gather a sufficiency of all things. So also cometh it to pass that when a corporeal world is yet new and young, it is carried forth not by random, but purposely, in the region suited to it. Hence there is a time for Simu, a time for falling nebulae, to bury deep the forest in Samoan beds, to provide coal and manure for a time thereafter. So is there a time when the earth passes a region in the firmament, when sand and oil are rained upon it and covered up, and gas is bound and sealed up for the coming generations of men. And man said, I am not ashamed in thy sight, O Jehovah. I looked upward and said, Behold, the sky, it is nothing. Then I said, It is true, the corporeal worlds are made up of condensed nebulae, but I saw not the wisdom and glory of thy works. I locked thee up in coincidences and happenings. Thy unseen world hath become seen, the unreal hath become the real. Oh, that I had been mindful of thee, oh, that I had not put thee afar, nor imagined laws and decrees. Teach thou me, O Jehovah. How was the beginning of man? How was it with the first of the living that thou broughtest forth? Jehovah said, Have I not declared myself in the past? In my works have I not provided thousands of years in advance? As I have shown system in the corporeal worlds, know thou, O man, that system prevaileth in the firmament. To the tree I gave life, to man I gave life, and spirit also. And the spirit I made was separate from the corporeal life. Out of Simu I made man, and man was but as a tree, but dwelling in Hak, and I called him Asu, Adam. I looked over the wide heavens that I made, and I saw countless millions of spirits of the dead that had lived and died on other corporeal worlds before the earth was made. I spake in the firmament, and my voice reached to the uttermost places. And there came an answer to the sounds of my voice, myriads of angels from the roadway in heaven, where the earth travelleth. I said to them, Behold, a new world have I created. Come you and enjoy it. Yea, you shall learn from it how it was with the other worlds in ages past. There alighted upon the new earth millions of angels from heaven, but many of them had never fulfilled a corporeal life, having died in infancy, and these angels comprehended not procreation nor corporeal life. And I said, Go and deliver Asu from darkness, for he shall also rise in spirit to inherit my Etherean worlds. And now was the earth in the latter days of Simu, and the angels could readily take on corporeal bodies for themselves. Out of the elements of the earth clothed they themselves by force of their wills with flesh and bones. By the side of the Asuans took they on corporeal forms. And I said, Go ye forth and partake of all that is on the earth, but partake you not of the tree of life, lest in that labor you become procreators, and as if dead to the heavens whence you came. But those who had never learned corporeal things, being imperfect in wisdom, comprehended not Jehovah's words. And they dwelt with the Asuans, and were tempted and partook of the fruit of the tree of life. And lo and behold, they saw their own nakedness. And there was born of the first race Asu, a new race called man. And Jehovah took the earth out of the travail of Simu, and the angels gave up their corporeal bodies. Jehovah said, Because you have raised up those that shall be joint heirs in heaven, you shall tread the earth with your feet, and walk by the sides of the newborn, being guardian angels over them, for they are of your own flesh and kin. Fruit of your seed have I quickened with my spirit, and man shall come forth with a birthright to my Etherean worlds. As I have quickened the seed of the firstborn, so will I quicken all seed to the end of the earth. And each and every man-child and woman-child born into life will I quicken with a new spirit, which shall proceed out of me at the time of conception. Neither will I give to any spirit of the higher or lower heaven power to enter a womb or a fetus of a womb and be born again. As the corporeal earth passes away, so shall pass away the first race, Asu. But as I pass not away, so shall not pass away the spirit of man. Chapter 7. Jehovah said, Let a sign be given to the inhabitants of the earth, that they may comprehend Danha and the firmament of heaven. For even as I bequeath to the earth a time for creating the living, and a time for angels to come and partake of the first fruits of mortality and immortality, so shall man at certain times and seasons receive testimony from my hosts in heaven. And Jehovah caused the earth and the family of the sun to travel in an orbit, the circuit of which requireth of them 4,700,000 years. And he placed in the line of the orbit at distances of 3,000 years Etherean lights, the which places as the earth passes through, angels from the second heaven come into its corporeal presence. As ambassadors they come, in companies of hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands, and these are called the Etherean host of the Most High. Not as a single individuals come they, not for a single individual mortal come they. And Jehovah gave this sign to man on earth, which is to say, in the beginning of the light of Danha, the spirits of the newly dead shall have power to take upon themselves the semblance of corporeal bodies, and appear and talk face to face with mortals. Every 3,000 years gave Jehovah this sign on earth, that those who learn the powers and capacities of such familiar spirits might bear testimony in regard to the origin of man on earth. Jehovah said, And when it shall come to pass in any of the times of Danha, that these signs are manifest, man shall know that the host of the Most High comes soon after. Let him who will become wise enumerate the great lights of my servant, for in such times I set aside things that are old, and establish my chosen anew. In the time of earth, when man was brought forth from mortal to immortal life, the earth passed beyond Simu, and the angels of heaven remained with corporeal man, but not in the semblance of mortals, but as spirits, and by virtue of their presence strove to make man wise and upright before Jehovah. Upon the earth the number of such angels was millions. To these angels spake Jehovah, saying, Behold the work you have taken in hand. It was commanded to you all to partake of the fruits of the earth, save of the fruit of the tree of life, which is of the knowledge of the earth and heaven, lest you lose your inheritance in Etherea. Behold, you now have sons and daughters on the earth. By your love to them are you become bound spirits of the lower heaven. Until you redeem them in wisdom and power, even to the 6th generation, you shall not again arise and inherit my emancipated heavens. to which end you shall be co-workers with one another in system and order. In my name shall you become an organic body, and known as the heaven of the earth, or lower heaven, which shall travel with the earth. And I will allot unto you a chief who is wise and experienced in founding heavenly kingdoms, and he shall appoint from amongst you officers and messengers, and Ashars, and Asaphs, and Isanors, and you shall be numbered in a portion unto your labor, in places like unto my other lower heavens on other worlds. And he who is chief shall be called God of this heaven and the earth. Unto his making bestow I them. And God shall have a council and throne within his heavenly city, and the place shall be called Wherein, because it is the first kingdom of God in this firmament. And God shall rule on his throne, for it is his, and his council shall rule with him. In my name shall they have dominion over angels and mortals belonging to the earth. And God shall appoint chiefs under him, who shall go down and dwell on the earth with mortals, and such chiefs' labor shall be with mortals for their resurrection. And these chiefs shall be called lords, for they are gods of land, which is the lowest rank of my commissioned gods. And God and his Lord shall have dominion from 200 years to 1,000 or more years, but never more than 3,000 years. According to the regions of Dan, light, into which I bring the earth, so shall be the term of the office of my gods and my lords. And God and his lords shall raise up officers to be their successors. By him and them shall they appoint and crown in my name. At the termination of the dominion of my God and his lords, they shall gather together in these, my bound heavens, all such angels as have been prepared in wisdom and strength for resurrection to my Etherean kingdoms. And these angels shall be called brides and bridegrooms to Jehovah, for they are mine and in my service. And to God and his lords with the brides and bridegrooms will I send down from Etherea ships in the time of Dan. By my Etherean gods and goddesses shall be the ships descended to these heavens, and receive God and his lords with the brides and bridegrooms, and carry them up to the exalted regions I have prepared for them. And all such as ascend shall be called a harvest unto me through my God and lords. And the time of my harvest shall be according to each Dan, which is 200 years, 400 years, 600 years, and 500 years. And these shall be called my lesser cycles, because they are the times of the tables of prophecy which I give unto my servants. But at no other time, nor in any other way, shall my harvest ascend to my emancipated worlds in Etherea. 7 Dans have I created for each and every Dan Ha, and 6 generations of mortals have I given unto each Dan. The angels understood the commandments of Jehovah according to their knowledge in the Etherean heavens, being heirs of other planets, and having died in infancy, and having matured in the east worlds, but they understood not the Creator according to the practice of the lower heavenly kingdoms. Wherefore their knowledge was incomplete. Jehovah said, I condemn you not, because you have become joint procreators with the Asuans, for you have done 2 services unto me, which are to teach yourselves corporeal things, that you may understand and sympathize with corporeans, and secondly, because you have caused the earth to become peopled with such as are capable of immortality. Behold you now what shall happen on the earth. Such as are of your flesh and kin, who cohabit together, shall rise in wisdom and virtue. But such of them as cohabit with the Asuans will bring forth heirs in the descending grade of life. The first shall bring forth heirs unto everlasting life, but the second shall bring forth heirs that shall go out in darkness. In the dominion of which matters your guards and lords will instruct you, that you may by inspiration and otherwise learn to control the behavior of mortals, and that these labors be not too severe upon you. I created the Dans and the Dan Ha's in the firmament, wherein you may be relieved from watch by other angels from other worlds coming to exchange with you. This also do I put upon you, that to rule over mortals to virtue, by your own wills governing them in all things, is contrary to my commandments. For what honor hath any man if made to do a thing? But you shall give mortals of my light, leaving them to choose. Better is it for them to suffer some than to grow up in ignorance of the stings of disobedience. Behold, I make this a willing service on your part, because you have bound your affections on the earth to your own kin. You willingly became guardian angels over mortals. Yet I made not a separate law unto you as it is with you. So shall it be with the spirits of these mortals when they are born into the east worlds. They will also desire to become guardian angels over their mortal kin. But these spirits, never having known my higher heavens, will be unsuitable for the office of Ashars. They would be but the blind leading the blind. To prevent which, God and the Lord shall provide these spirits in the first resurrection with places to dwell in, and with occupations and opportunities for education. For I desire them not to remain bound to the earth, but to rise up and inherit my Etherean kingdoms. And in this also shall you be discreet in governing them, giving them the light of my heavens with some liberty to choose and to perfect themselves. Otherwise they would only be slaves in heaven. According to their weakness or strength, so shall you provide for these new spirits entering my east world. Therefore, such of you as are appointed by my God and my lords as guardians over mortals shall be called Ashars. And you shall report to your respective lords according to the section of the earth where you may be. Of many watches shall be the Ashars, and such of you as are appointed to receive the spirits of the dead into heaven shall be called Asaphs. And you shall report to your respective lords and their kingdoms, and the Ashars shall make a record of every mortal of the grade of his wisdom and good works. And when a mortal die, and his spirit is delivered to the Asaphs, the record shall be delivered with him, and the Asaph receiving shall deliver such spirit with the record, and to such place in these heavens as is adapted to his grade, where he shall be put to labor and to school, according to the place of the resurrections which I created. As you shall thus become organic in heaven with rulers and teachers and physicians, and with capitals and cities and provinces, and with hospitals and nurseries and schools and factories, even so shall you ultimately inspire man on the earth to the same things. And mortals that are raised up to the dominion over mortals shall be called kings and emperors. As my gods and my lords are called my sons, so shall kings and emperors be called sons of God. Through him shall they be raised up to their places and given dominion unto my glory. Chapter 8. Jehovah said, And God shall cause a record to be kept in heaven, of his dominions and his lords, and he and they shall enjoin it upon their successors forever to keep a like record. And in times of my harvest a copy of these records shall be taken up to my Etherean kingdoms and filed with my Orion chiefs and archangels and the roadway of the travel of the great serpent, for their deliberations as to the progress and management of the inhabitants of the earth and her heavens. Think not, O ye angels, that the resurrection of your heirs and their descendants that come up out of the earth is an easy matter and of steady progress, devoid of mishaps and woeful darkness. The angels under you shall become at times rebellious and defiant, disregarding your laws and decrees, and they shall desert your heavenly places and go down to the earth in millions and hundreds of millions. And they shall drive away the Ashars and then assume guardianship over mortals. But they shall develop no righteousness under the sun, but they will inspire mortals to war and destruction. And these angels will themselves take to war and evil on every hand within the place of your heavens. With the foul gases of Atmospherea shall they make weapons of war and places of torment. With these elements shall they make suffocating hells in order to cast one and another in chaos. And mortals who shall be slain in war shall be born in spirit in chaos on the battlefields. In chaos shall such spirits enter the east world, and they shall not know that they are dead, as to the earth life, but shall still keep on fighting right and left. An enemy shall take enemy in these heavens, and cast them in the places of torment which they have built, and they shall not know peace nor wisdom. And the work of your heavens shall become as nothing, and you shall turn to, going about delivering hells and the spirits in chaos. And your labor shall be exhaustive. Verily shall you cry out, because you came and peopled the earth. This also have I created possible unto my creations, for both angels and mortals shall learn to know the elements of the heavens and the earth, and to know the trials of love and misfortune. Nor have I made wisdom possible unto any man or angel, that knoweth not my elements, and the extremes of evil and good which I created. But in the times of great darkness which shall come upon the earth and these heavens, lo, I will bring the earth into Danha, and my Ethereans shall come in my name and deliver them. And again for another cycle shall they be left with the lessons given unto them, but they shall fall again in course of time. But again will I deliver them. Through my gods and goddesses will I cause them to comprehend the magnitude of my creations. As you travel from heaven to heaven in this Atmospherea, even so shall you inspire mortals to build corporeal ships and sail across the oceans, that the inhabitants of different divisions of the earth may become known to one another. And when the inhabitation of the earth shall be completed, and the nations shall have established civil communion around from east to west, in that same time will I bring the earth into the Cosmon era, and my angel ambassadors, gods and goddesses, shall render up the records of these heavenly kingdoms. Through them will I reveal unto mortals the creation of my worlds, and the history and dominion of my gods and lords on the earth, even from this day down to the time of Cosmos. And Jehovah caused the angels of Atmospherea to assemble together and organize the first kingdom of the heaven of the earth. And the place was called Wherein, because it was the place of the first organic abiding place for the first god of this world. And Horeb was situated over and above the mountains of Aotan and Ugokwi, to the eastward of Ui, of that country hereafter called the continent of Pan. Thus ended the inorganic habitation of the earth and her Atmospherea. End of the Book of Jehovah.